I never thought I'd say this out loud, not to my family, not to the fans, not even to my pastor. But I saw hell. And I saw them. Celebrities. People I once admired, produced for, even drank with in the studio, screaming, burning, cursing the day they were born. If I mention their names, and I will, some of you will be angry. Some won't believe me. Some will click off this video and say, he's lying for views. But deep in your heart, you'll know something's off. Because I was once like you, rich, proud, blessed, and blind. I had awards, deals, cars, and demons trailing me that I called vibes. Until the night I died. It was May 14, 2021. A normal Friday, until it wasn't. One moment I was mixing tracks for an A-list artist, laughing and sipping something I shouldn't have touched. The next moment, I was out. Cold. No breath. No heartbeat. Gone. And where I landed, it wasn't peace. It wasn't nothingness. It was torment. It was regret so thick you could choke on it. It was pain screaming in your soul, and no one cared. No applause. No streaming numbers. Just fire. And the faces I saw. You'd recognize them instantly. A pop star with millions of followers, screaming as snakes wrapped around her neck, calling on the Jesus she once mocked in her music. A hip-hop legend, wailing, chained to the stage he once used to promote death and pride. A young actor, beautiful, talented, envied, begging to go back, but no one answered. I saw them. I heard their voices. And I was next. But something happened. A voice. A light. Something I didn't deserve. And that's why I'm here. Not as a producer, not as a star maker. Just a man who got a second chance, and a message for you. Please, don't scroll. Don't mock. Don't rush. Because the truth I'm about to share with you may be the very thing that saves your soul. Before I go deeper into what happened to me in hell and the faces I saw there, let me take a moment to say this. To everyone who has subscribed to this channel, who listens, comments, prays, and supports these powerful stories, thank you. You're not just watching content. You're helping change lives. This isn't easy to share. Honestly, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to say publicly. I was a private man, a respected man in the entertainment industry. But God gave me a warning, and told me to speak. So thank you for being here. If you're new here, welcome. If you're skeptical, I understand, I was too. But I urge you, keep watching. There's something here for your spirit. And to all the believers supporting this platform, may God richly bless you. Your presence here makes all the difference. Now, let me take you back to who I was before hell found me. My name is Jordan Miles. I'm 39 years old, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia, or should I say, I used to live for Atlanta. I was born and raised in a small church-going home just outside Macon. My mom was a worship leader, my dad a deacon. Every Sunday we were in church, no excuses. I could quote scripture before I could ride a bike. But somewhere between my childhood faith and the flashing lights of my 20s, I traded the Bible for Billboard charts. I don't even remember when the shift happened. Maybe it was that first big studio session at 21, when a rap group I admired said, "Yo, you got an ear, man. You're gonna be big." They were right. I was big. By 30, I had produced multiple platinum records. I was in rooms with megastars. I got flown to Dubai, London, and Paris to record beats. My phone was always ringing. I had 3 cars, a condo in Buckhead, and a second spot in LA. I was living the dream. At least, that's what I told myself. But behind all the smiles on red carpets and curated Instagram stories, I was broken. I drank a lot, too much. I smoked things I told myself were just for inspiration. I slept with women I couldn't even name the next day. I pushed aside any sense of guilt by calling it the lifestyle. I still believed in God, kind of. But I didn't fear him. I'd say, me and God got our own thing. I even had a cross tattooed on my arm like that made me spiritually safe. I'd walk into church on Christmas with my shades on, drop a check in the offering plate like I was buying heaven's silence, and walk back out into my sin without flinching. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't sleep at night without noise in the background. Silence terrified me. I avoided mirrors when I was alone because I hated the look in my own eyes. I'd ask myself, what if I die like this? And then I'd drown the thought with another drink. And hell. I thought it was metaphorical. I'd even joke about it. We're all going to hell for this beat, I said once after producing a track that mocked God but hit #1. People laughed. I laughed too. But inside, something cold tightened around my chest. I told myself I was just being dramatic. But God was warning me. He was tugging at me through the headaches, the nightmares, the guilt I buried. Through the quiet whispers of my mother's voice in my head, praying over me when I was 5, Lord, keep him safe. Bring him back to you. Still. I kept drifting. Deeper into the money. Deeper into the industry's dark corners. I saw things, rituals, deals, manipulations, but I kept silent. Why ruin my bag? Until May 14, 2021. The night I died. I wasn't in a car crash. I wasn't shot. I wasn't overdosing. I simply passed out in the studio, right in front of my artist, during playback. No warning. Just silence. And then, it began. It was supposed to be an ordinary Friday night. We were in the studio in Atlanta, dim lights, bass rattling the floor, smoke curling through the room, and a bottle of Hennessy on the console. I had just finished producing a beat for a rising female rapper, real flashy, real vulgar, but perfect for the charts. She was in the booth, running it back, laughing at her own lyrics. I remember her shouting through the glass, Jordan. You killed this one. I grinned. I was proud. And then, the lights dimmed, not the studio lights. Everything dimmed. The room started spinning slowly at first, like a record going off tempo. I blinked hard. My chest tightened. I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't move. Then, darkness. Just snap, like someone cut the reel. I collapsed against the board. I heard the artist scream, Jordan. Yo, Jordan. Then nothing. At least, nothing human. The silence was the first thing that struck me. I wasn't in the studio anymore. I was standing, or floating, I don't know, in a black space so dark it felt like it had weight. I looked down and couldn't see my own body. I reached for my face and felt, nothing. Then came the sound. It was far off at first. Faint screams, like someone crying from miles away. But they grew louder. Closer. And soon they were all around me. Screams that didn't end. Screams that sounded like lungs were bursting. Then came the smell. Burning flesh. Sulfur. Rotting meat. Like a slaughterhouse caught fire. I gagged, but I had no throat. Suddenly, something yanked me down. No warning, just force. Violent. Like gravity got tired of playing nice. I was dragged downward through a tunnel, the walls pulsing, alive, breathing, and then I was there. Hell. And no, it wasn't just flames and pitchforks. It was worse. The ground was hot, but not like a stove. It was like pain that came from inside your bones. There were pits filled with people, some screaming, some gnashing their teeth, some clawing at each other in rage and regret. Demons, grotesque, reptilian, some with wings, some with rotted animal heads, tormented souls with chains, spears, laughter. And then I saw them. Famous faces. Faces from red carpets, magazine covers, award shows. A female pop singer, known for her voice and wild performances. Naked, mutilated, her tongue swollen as she tried to scream through the lyrics of her own blasphemous song while demons tore at her vocal cords. A hip-hop icon, someone I had actually met, trapped in a cage with fire licking the bars. He was pounding his fists, shouting lyrics he used to chant on stage, but now his voice cracked, full of regret. It was all a lie. It was all a lie. He saw me. I don't know how, but he did. His eyes locked onto mine and he screamed, "Get out of here. Warn them. Don't end up here with us." His mouth disintegrated mid-sentence. I froze. I couldn't move. And then I heard them. Voices. Dozens. Hundreds. Jordan. 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 I turned. These were people I never met, fans, kids, people who followed my music. Each time I looked into their faces, I remembered a track. A beat. A song I helped make that led them here. No one warned us, one said, her eyes hollow. You said it was just entertainment, another whispered. That was the final blow. I dropped to my knees, or whatever I had instead of knees, and screamed. God. Please. I didn't know. I didn't mean to. Please. I didn't know it was real. And then everything stopped. The screams muted. The heat faded. A light, piercing, white, and so pure I couldn't look at it, appeared above me. Then a voice. Firm. Gentle. Yet it shook everything in me. This is the judgment of those who lead my children astray. You were one of them. I sobbed. I couldn't deny it. I corrupted through beats. I glorified death, lust, pride. I profited off darkness and sold it as art. Your time is not yet done, the voice said. But speak. Warn them. For many of those you call stars are falling, and taking thousands with them. Then, in a flash, I was back. I don't know how long I had been in that place. Time didn't work there, minutes felt like days, screams never ended, and regret was a living thing that clung to your soul. But when that voice spoke, everything stopped. It wasn't thunderous or loud, but everything trembled when it came. It was the voice of truth. Of authority. Of power I couldn't argue with, even if I wanted to. You were one of them, those who led my children astray. I fell flat. Not from fear, but from truth. That voice peeled me open, exposed every sin I had glamorized through my music, every lie I dressed in catchy beats, every teenager I influenced to believe they didn't need God. My whole career flashed before me, award shows where I smiled and thanked the universe, interviews where I mocked the church, studios where I laughed as lyrics glorifying sin went viral. And then came a different voice, softer. Like it was wrapped in sorrow. Didn't I call you, even in your sleep? I broke. Because I remembered. The dreams I ignored. The sleepless nights after my mom would pray over me. The tightness in my chest every time I walked past a church and heard a hymn I knew from childhood. The voice in the back of my head, always whispering, "Come back." He had called me. And I had run. But somehow. He was still calling. And then the light grew brighter. It covered me. I didn't deserve it, I wanted to beg for another chance, but before the words formed, the voice said. Mercy has found you, but it is not for you alone. I felt heat again, but this time, it didn't burn. It was like fire that cleansed. It washed over me, burning away the residue of every lie I had embraced. I wept. I screamed. And I felt something crack inside me, pride, maybe. Arrogance. That shield I wore as a celebrity, it shattered. Then I saw him. I can't describe his face. It was light, pure, fierce, and yet more loving than anything I'd ever felt. He was wrapped in holiness. His eyes held the whole world. I fell again. Even in that spiritual state, I couldn't stand before him. Jesus. He reached down, his hand radiant, with scars that glowed. He lifted me. You must speak, he said. You must tell them what you saw. For the time is short. Many are perishing, even in churches, even in pulpits, even in studios, and they are blind. He placed something into my chest, like a flame. I felt it ignite. This is truth. Carry it. Then he turned, and the light engulfed everything. The fire. The screams. The darkness. Even my guilt. And just like that, I woke up. Gasping. Crying. Covered in sweat. My artist screaming in my face. Jordan. Yo. Jordan, you good? I looked into her eyes and saw the fear. But deeper than that, I saw her soul. For the first time ever, I didn't see her body, her fame, her brand. I saw someone who was lost. Just like I had been. And I knew, everything had changed. I didn't go back to business as usual. I couldn't. When you've looked into the face of Jesus, when you've seen hell swallow people you once called icons, you don't just walk back into the studio and make another chart-topping song about sex, money, and pride. No. I walked out of that hospital with trembling legs and a brand new heart. The doctors called it a mild cardiac arrest triggered by exhaustion and substance overload. But I knew better. I had died. Spiritually, emotionally, and literally, and God had pulled me back. The first thing I did when I got home, I deleted over 300 unreleased beats from my hard drive, beats made in darkness, saturated with demonic influence. I cried the whole night. Not because I missed them, but because I realized how many people I had led astray with those sounds. I called my manager the next day and told him I was done producing for secular artists. He laughed at first. Bro, don't tell me you found religion. I didn't find religion, I said. Jesus found me. In hell. My circle changed instantly. Half of them vanished. People said I lost my mind. Others said I was throwing away my legacy. But I wasn't losing anything. I was finally gaining everything. I started fasting. Reading scripture. Reconnecting with my parents. Visiting churches not to perform, but to sit quietly in the back row and weep. I even reached out to one of the artists I used to produce for and told her plainly, sis, if you don't turn to God, you're not gonna make it. Eternity is real. I saw where this road ends. She cried. We prayed. I don't know where she is today, but I planted the seed. Today, I don't live for applause. I don't chase streams. I chase truth. I speak in youth groups. I produce gospel music now, not for fame, but for souls. And every beat I drop, I ask God first, does this glorify you? Because now, I know what's at stake. Listen to me, please. I was a respected man in the industry. I had everything this world said you should want, money, fame, connections, women, power. But none of that mattered the moment I stood before eternity. Hell is real. I saw it. I smelled it. I heard it. And many of the people you admire, follow, and even imitate, they're there. The lies we normalize today, the lyrics, the lust, the arrogance, they're dragging souls into eternal torment. And most of us are laughing along the way. Don't be deceived. Don't wait. Jesus is real. Mercy is real. But so is judgment. You cannot play with sin and expect grace to cover what you refuse to surrender. To every Christian out there, wake up. Holiness isn't optional. Compromise is costly. To every unbeliever, come home. Jesus is calling, even now. What you follow will follow you into eternity. What you glorify here may condemn you there. I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Do you believe hell is real? Because I didn't. Not really. Not until I stood in it. And now, I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unhear the cries. I can't forget the faces of those celebrities, or the fans they dragged with them into the fire. So I'm asking you, where are you headed? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this shook you, tell someone. If it convicted you, repent. If it gave you hope, hold on to it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being open. May God keep you ready, because eternity is one breath away. Until next time, stay awake, stay humble, and stay ready.